Okay, so today we're going to dive into a 2,500-year-old book that, and this might sound crazy, could be the perfect guide for our super chaotic modern world. It's called the Tao Te Ching, and it really kicks off by tapping into a feeling I think we all know a little too well. I mean, does that hit home or what? That constant pressure to hustle, to do more, to achieve more, only to feel like you're just spinning your wheels? It's this uniquely modern kind of burnout, right? Well, the solution we're going to explore is surprisingly ancient.
Yep, we are talking about the Tao Te Ching. It's attributed to a sage named Lao Tzu, who lived around 500 BC. And it's this short little book, only 81 verses, but it's outlasted entire empires for one simple reason. Its message is completely timeless.
And that's really the thing you gotta understand. This isn't just some dusty historical document. As August Gold says in the introduction to this translation, it's more like a key that can unlock a whole new way of looking at and living your life. But, for a long time, that key was pretty hard to turn.
See, for decades, the English translations were, well, they were super literal and scholarly. They got the words right, but they totally missed the music, They just came across as stuffy and, let's be honest, kind of irrelevant unless you were a history professor.
Now check this out. This slide shows you exactly what I mean. The old translation on the left sounds so harsh, right? Almost cruel. But the modern one on the right, from Jonathan Starr, unlocks the real meaning. It's not about cruelty. It's about impartiality, or kind of universal fairness. This is how the text's incredible wisdom suddenly becomes something we can actually use today.
So the book's called the Tao Te Ching, which brings us to the big, million-dollar question. What is the Tao? Now, the funny thing is, the book itself will tell you that's kind of the wrong question to ask. But hey, let's try to sketch out the idea anyway.
Okay, so at its most basic level, the Tao is the fundamental natural force of the universe. You could think of it like the operating system for all of reality, the source code that everything flows from. The book calls it both the origin and the mother of everything.
And boom, right there in the very first verse, you get the central mystery. The moment you try to slap a label on the Tao, to define it and put it in a neat little box, it's not the real Tao anymore. It's just so much bigger than any word or concept we could ever come up with. Verse 4 gives us this really powerful metaphor. Try to think of the Tao not as a thing, but as the space that allows all the things to exist. It's like an infinite well of energy that's literally everywhere, but it's totally invisible. It is the quiet, empty source of everything we see.
Okay, so if the Tao is this undefinable, empty thing, how does that actually help us? Well, this is where we get to the real heart of the book's wisdom, its paradoxes. These are ideas that sound totally contradictory at first, but they hold a much deeper truth that honestly flies right in the face of our modern go-getter mindset.
I mean, our culture screams at us to control everything, right? To micromanage our lives, to try and make them perfect. And that is a recipe for total burnout. The Tao suggests the exact opposite. By surrendering, by just letting go of our rigid plans, we allow things to fall into their own, more perfect, natural order. We tend to think of strength as being hard, unbending, forceful. But the Tao teaches that real power is in being flexible, adaptable, soft. Just think about it. A gentle river can completely wear down the hardest stone just by yielding to it over time. And oh man, this one is a direct challenge to our culture of just more. The book basically argues that piling up more stuff, more status, more goals, it doesn't actually bring you clarity. It just brings confusion. Real wealth, the Tao says, is actually found in simplicity. So I know, these ideas are a little abstract. How do we actually put them into practice? Well, verse 8 gives us the single best metaphor for how to live in sync with the Tao, just be like water. Water is just amazing when you think about it. It's soft and it yields, but it can carve canyons through mountains. It flows around obstacles without ever fighting them. And it nourishes everything it touches, from the smallest seed to the biggest tree, without asking for anything in return. That's the ideal we're shooting for.
And the verse even breaks it down into this super practical guide. Being grounded is like the solid riverbed that gives the water direction. A still mind is like a clear, calm lake. Kind giving is like how water nourishes everything without a second thought. See, it's not about being passive. It's about being incredibly effective by moving with the natural flow of things, not against it.
Which leads us to the final and probably the most famous concept from the book, Wu Wei, or non-action. Now, this doesn't mean doing nothing at all. Think of it more like effortless action. You know that feeling when you're in the zone, in a state of flow, and you're not forcing things, they're just happening? That's Wu Wei.
This whole idea is about subtraction, not addition. As verse 48 says, finding the Tao is about reducing every single day. You let go of your ego, you let go of unnecessary effort, you let go of rigid ideas. It's kind of like a sharp rock in a river being slowly worn smooth by the current until it finds its perfect, effortless place. You end up doing less, but you accomplish everything that truly matters.
And here's the big warning against trying to force the world to be what we want it to be. The world, according to the Tao, is already perfect in its own way. When we mess with it, when we try to control it, we usually just end up breaking it. The plan to control everything, it always fails.
And that right there really brings us to the core message of this entire ancient book. The more we desperately try to cling to life, to outcomes, to stuff, the more we miss out on the actual experience of living. The real treasure is found not in holding on tighter, but in having the courage to let go.
So I'll just leave you with that question, right from the heart of the Tao Te Ching. In a world that's constantly telling you to grab more, hold on tighter, and achieve more, what could you actually gain by finally, truly letting go?